The President of the United States just canceled one of his favorite annual appearances, not because of a scheduling conflict, not because of a security threat, but because his own advisors told him he'd be booed in front of 100 million viewers. That's not speculation anymore. Multiple Trump advisors confirmed it directly to Zateo. And what that reveals isn't just about one football game. It tells us something critical about the internal math happening inside this White House right now. A team scrambling to contain a popularity freefall. Let me show you.
Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. As you know, it is already 2026. We're in the midterm election year. 9 months away from Election Day. 9 months today. And Donald Trump and members of his administration are already making moves to try to illegitimately take control of the American election system. Now, Trump doesn't want Republicans to lose the House and the Senate. One big reason in particular, I think, that he keeps making very clear.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
I don't think he's wrong, and I really think he's very obsessed with legacy right now, that he does not want to go for his third impeachment. He's obsessed with keeping control of Congress. I think, honestly, primarily for that reason, because it's not like he cares about passing legislation or cares about other people's electoral fortunes. But the thing is, he's obsessed about keeping Congress, and he has no real plan to do it normally or legitimately, right? Despite all the bravado and the constant boasts about never being more popular, they know the score. The administration actually understands that Trump is in trouble. The Republican Party's in trouble. And it's not just polling. Look at this. You might have seen this over the weekend. A Texas special election that happened over the weekend in which a Democrat flipped a red state Senate seat, winning by 14 points in a district Trump carried by 17 points in 2024. That's a 31-point swing. That is almost literally unheard of. Now, don't expect a blowout like that in November. You're going to have turnout that's going to be much higher. That was a low turnout election. Democrats tend to do better in those. But even a 10-point swing in the midterms would wipe out the Republican majority. Heck, a 5-point swing in the midterms would wipe out the Republican House majority. So they know what they're facing. They see the writing on the walls. And they know they don't right now, unless things change dramatically, have a path to just outright winning a free and fair election. Most normal incumbents who aren't Donald Trump see their party suffer losses in the midterms, right? So Donald Trump is exploring other plans. The first plan was to gerrymander congressional maps. Why leave it up to voters to choose Republicans when Republicans could simply choose their voters? And so Donald Trump tenaciously, constantly pushed red states to redraw their districts to be even redder, right? To change their congressional districts mid-decade. This never happens, right? Texas did it. Missouri did it. Ohio still may. But Trump's pressure generated a backlash. First, among Republicans in, for instance, Indiana, who just told him to take a hike, wouldn't do what he wanted, despite J.D. Vance going there in person, inviting him to the White House, right? And also in blue states like California, which defensively redrew its maps. And so when all is said and done, between California, what's happening in Virginia, maybe Maryland, the fact Indiana wouldn't do it, the whole thing made the gerrymandering war a wash. It could actually, in the end up net benefiting the Democrats because Donald Trump started this fight. So now midterm election year is upon us. That gerrymandering plan has really failed. I think they thought this was like their secret weapon, right? Their ace in the hole. No. So now it's time for the Republican Plan B. And that is, and they're saying this out loud, to fully seize the machinery of American voting.
Hayes lays out the scenario bluntly. We could be weeks, maybe days of bad polling away from Trump publicly floating the idea of canceling the midterms. He said it before. The difference now is the political environment that would make him say it proudly. And Hayes' message to Democrats is direct. Start planning your response now, not when it happens. Now here's where this connects. Trump initially claimed he was skipping the Super Bowl because California was too far away. Keep in mind, this is a man with access to Air Force One. Distance is not a variable in his life. The real reason, now confirmed by his own advisors speaking to Zateo, they told him not to go. The quote from one advisor is remarkable. And I want you to hear the exact words. Clips of Trump being booed loudly in front of tens of thousands of spectators and potentially more than 100 million viewers at home going viral would be another thing we don't want right now. Read that again. His own team is saying another thing we don't want. That word, another, tells you everything. They're already managing multiple crises. They can't afford one more. Last year's Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles, Trump got a mixed reception, some cheers, some boos. But since then, his approval ratings have dropped significantly. The economy, hardline immigration enforcement, and particularly the killing of 2 U.S. citizens by federal agents in Minneapolis have all compounded the damage. His team ran the numbers, and the numbers said, stay home. And it wasn't just Trump who backed down. Remember, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem announced that AI's agents would be deployed to the Super Bowl, patrolling the stadium and the surrounding area in Santa Clara. That plan was also quietly walked back. Why? The same reason. They understand the optics are toxic right now. ICE has become the single most polarizing agency in the federal government, and deploying agents at America's biggest sporting event in a deep blue state would have generated exactly the kind of confrontation footage they're desperate to avoid. This is a pattern worth paying attention to. When public pressure is consistent and visible, this administration retreats. A local council meeting in Santa Clara, where citizens showed up and pushed back, contributed to the AI's deployment being scrapped. That's not insignificant. That's civic engagement producing a measurable result. Let's put some structure around this. In federal court challenges against Trump administration actions, opponents have secured injunctions in over 95% of cases. That number comes directly from Congressman Jamie Raskin, 95%. Regardless of what happens at the Supreme Court level, at the district and appellate level, the legal system is consistently ruling against executive overreach. Combine that with the Super Bowl retreat, the ICE pullback, and the polling trajectory, and you're looking at an administration that is losing on multiple fronts simultaneously: legal, political, and cultural.
I just want to remind people that Kristi Noem won't be secretary forever. Donald Trump won't be president forever. Suggesting that 3 years from now we could have a Democratic president, we could have a new attorney general. That Justice Department would be empowered to do real criminal investigations of these shootings, of these beatings, and of these arrests. And so those agents may all get a federal pardon from Donald Trump so that the federal government won't be able to do that in the next administration. But without that pardon, this remains an open possibility for the next Justice Department to investigate, doesn't it?
Of course. Well, we're going to have real attorney generals again. People like Robert F. Kennedy, people like Edward Levy, people like Janet Reno. We're going to have a real Justice Department again. We're going to have a real criminal division again that brings criminal actions against government officials who violate the civil rights of the people. We are going to restore and we're going to fortify and improve the rule of law. And we know it's not as simple as just turning the clock back to the time before Donald Trump, because obviously those were the conditions that allowed for Donald Trump and MAGA to penetrate our society and take over our government. We're going to have to fortify democracy and freedom to make them much stronger going forward. And having been through this nightmare together and with the heroic resistance and opposition that we're seeing all over the country, we're going to make it through. We need to obviously mobilize the vote and keep winning the way we won in Virginia, in New Jersey, in California, in Alabama, the way we just won in Texas, a 31-point swing in a state Senate election. We're going to keep going, and we have to defend those elections because Donald Trump, who obviously has no other program for America relating to health care, relating to housing for young people, relating to any public good, has one objective in mind, which is trying to steal the election the way he tried to steal it back in 2020 when he called the Republican Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, in Georgia and said, I just want you to find me 11,780 votes. That wasn't Donald Trump trying to stop election fraud. That was Donald Trump trying to commit election fraud. And he did it all over the country, and he will try again. But we are ready for him, and we have people fighting all over America to defend the democratic institutions that we've got.
Raskin makes the affirmative case here. not just opposing Trump's immigration enforcement, but reframing immigration as foundational to the country's growth. He challenges Democrats to stop playing defense and start making the positive argument while letting Trump's own actions build the case against himself. Now, to be fair, supporters of the administration would argue that skipping the Super Bowl is a non-story. They'd say the president has more important things to do than attend a football game, and on the surface, that's reasonable. Presidents skip events all the time, but the issue isn't that he skipped it. The issue is why he skipped it, and that his own advisors are the ones telling reporters the real reason. When your inner circle is leaking damage control strategies to the press, that's not strength. That's an administration aware of its own vulnerability and trying to manage it in real time. Here's why this matters beyond political entertainment. When an administration starts making decisions based on avoiding embarrassment rather than governing, policy gets distorted. The AIS deployment wasn't canceled because the security assessment changed. It was canceled because the PR assessment changed. That means public pressure is working, but it also means policy is being driven by optics, not by strategy. If you care about immigration policy, judicial independence, or just the basic functioning of government, this dynamic affects you directly. The question isn't whether Trump is unpopular. The question is what decisions get made or don't get made because of that unpopularity.